different degrees of magnitude in terms of their revolutionary impact. Television was almost immediately accepted as something everybody needed. And that's why it has near universal placement in the U.S. homes. It's over 95% of homes have a television set. And in fact, the majority of homes have more than one. The internet, however, or online, has yet to go beyond 70%, despite all the publicity and all the pressure by educators and others to have people, purchase computers and secure internet access for their home. It's kind of hit that ceiling of 70%, and that may be for a combination of many things, including income levels, education, and so on in the United States. But any sort of comparison with the two has to be seen in the light of where television was in the late 40s and early 50s. It took people from their front porch in the public area and put them into their living rooms in a private area. Many scholars have made note of that, how people used to hang out on those front porches in the summer. Now they've retreated inside to watch television in their own groups. So it made a lot of things that were public private. I think the internet is going to have that same impact. It's going to take, with a twist, it'll take things that are once public and make them private, but then make them public again because of the discursive technologies, the discussion boards, the chat rooms, the instant messaging, and the other communicative properties. So it's this paradox again where you say, okay, the internet is going to deepen the recess where people will be on one hand, but on the other hand, it's going to expand their communication possibilities to the world. And so it's in many ways a greater good than television, and certainly one that I think has a much greater potential for building community than TV. TV is really in the private space, and I think the internet will, as it is today, remain firmly lodged in a communicative enterprise in a public way.
That's the question. That's the big question. That is, we have the means to communicate with people that are entirely unlike us, me, you, in this room. Okay. We also have the means to avoid anybody that is not like us. Okay. I live in a city. A city is still a material space. I get on a subway every day, and I am forced to be with people that are not like me. And that's what makes New York and other cities and more and more of the world cosmopolitan. We're forced to be in contact with other people, and people react against that with nationalism, with religious fundamentalism, and say, I want nothing to do with you, okay? But one of the ways to look at that nationalism and that fundamentalism, it's a reaction against a natural propensity, a natural movement for our world to become more integrated. Immigration flows, urban centers, and so on and so forth. And so technology can help that. Technology can actually make it so we can have safe spaces to learn about the other person, and therefore the other no longer is other, but there's someone who we can relate to, okay? That doesn't mean we're all going to become one beautiful, generic human, but we're going to respect each other and know each other and so on and so forth. Or, as I said before, we're going to retreat into our little virtual gated communities, slam the doors, put up guards, and not deal with each other. That's not a technological question. That's a social and a political question. And that is going to have to be something that we decide as a people and as a world. I mean, I think what's going to solve it for us, or prove that we can't solve it, is ecological crisis. That is, it is a worldwide phenomenon. It points out the integrative circuit, which is the planet and our own ecology. We're either going to say we have to talk to each other, we have to actually break down these boundaries in order to survive, or we're going to retreat and just hope that the water doesn't rise too high to wherever our little area is.
One student believes that in the future you can paint your own house. However, if you don't like that paint, you can just peel it off and you can peel back. It's very creative, right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of silly, but then it's like, that might point to because it's in contrast with all the other students who were saying, oh, the future is all about the, thin laptop, the future is about, how, the iPod can be like an iMood player, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm really trying to push them to think beyond what's here today and think totally differently. Mm-hmm. So usually the favorite projects that come out is like thinking about rooting back to the old days. Like for example, a student was thinking about tattoos, you know, and then she started connecting the idea of the art of tattoos with the idea of having IDs or scan bars onto your skin. What does that mean? What's the implications when your ID is in some system, right? Another idea is like another student was thinking, well, a lot of people travel, but you know, one of the biggest problem is that you have too many things. So what do you do? Well, what if we can have some kind of suitcase that, you know, uses some vacuum power to compress everything into one, you know, suitcase? Or the other thing is, you know, there's a big weight problem in the U.S., right? So another student was thinking, well, what if there's some kind of gravity pin that you could stick onto your clothes? So, you know, even though you're trying to like lose weight and it's really hard, maybe you can use technology to help you believe or help you, you know, further exercise by, you know, using that gravity pin so that you can be lighter and, you know. So they're like combination of silly examples, but I do hope, like, you know, even thinking about those examples in 10 years that it's something beyond you know, what technology is, how technology is available and what we make out of it.
I think we've gotten a lot of the breakthroughs in computing technology and speed. But here are some things that I think that we would need to see to really start to see extreme acceleration in different directions. One is we have to get past the keyboard. That is the input device that right now holds up everything. Why, you know, even when it's little thumbs and it's still a QWERTY keyboard that you're using your thumbs with, or a telephone, you know, the telephone keypad this is the worst possible way you could communicate with the device. Or a mouse, yeah. So QWERTY keyboards, maybe brain-machine interface, probably. I think that's going to come very slowly, but gradually we'll be getting better and better with doing brain-machine interfaces and sublingual interfaces and things like that, where you aren't actually talking, but you can communicate with the machine. So being able to do that, I think, makes a huge step forward. I think the development of desktop fabrication, a machine where you can print objects. And again, this is one where we already, just like brain-machine interfaces, we already have the early versions of this, but it just depends on how quickly that advances. But that has the potential for a sea change in how we interact. I think those two things are, and to a certain extent, sort of bioengineering and the ability to do nano-level engineering. Everyone's been talking about that forever. It's not clear how quickly that can advance, but I think that's a piece of it as well. Now those are very much kind of surface developments, but I think they have the potential for causing fairly deep change in the way we interact. I think we will hit the point where robots and electronics will be handling so much of our necessary work that it will throw the economic system into disarray. And so that challenge is more of a challenge that only science fiction authors are dealing with, although frankly the fact that Americans can't find jobs, I think, is tied into this issue of a large amount of some of our work moving toward the intellectual work and the physical labor increasingly moving towards mechanization. And that will be the most disruptive social event, I think, of this century, but probably not until I'm very, very old. So.